Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, it's about 9:55. I've got about a little over basically about 5 hours, a little under 5 hours, 4 hours and 59 minutes before I have to leave for work. Um, but we've always wondered, a lot of us, what exactly is going on with Lost Hedgehog tales. I've come up and I've talked about this enough. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about this enough. And basically, we were wondering what's going on. Well, Ian Flynn did finally provide an update about a week ago or so, I believe. And I don't know if anybody knows about it, but I have it right here. This is the update he did. Uh, I guess back in March or something. Hold on, it shouldn't have been back in March. Let me see. I'm on his website right now, so I'm trying to out. Oh, speaking of Ian Flynn, with all due respect, apparently he found out that my new Twitter account, it's basically me as well. So he's not letting me on there. He's not letting me do that as well. Okay, he says he's updated the post. He basically updated the post back in September, around September 26th. He updated his post that he did on the 29th of this month. Okay, this is what he said. This is what he put out in March, and I think the bottom one is the update. So this is what he says. This is what Ian Flynn says, and I quote: "The short version, Lost Hedgehog Tales, is still happening, but there is no timetable. It'll be done one day, but he doesn't know when." Now he mentions the long version. He says he starts basically. It's okay as far as the long version goes. He says he basically apologizes. Um, basically apologizes. He said, well, basically this is what he says. He says, moving on to the long version, I'll start off with apologizing. He says he's really sorry and truly am. He thought it would be a much faster turnaround, and he ended up getting people's hopes up that it would be done quickly. He goes on to say that it didn't happen for a number of reasons, some personal, all private, and looking back over the past couple of years, it's turned out for the better, again, for reasons he can't get into publicly. He also goes on to say, and I'll provide a link for you guys if you want to read it yourself. He also goes on to say, but they'll also need, but though he also goes on to say, there also needs to, but he also goes on to say that there also needs to be levels of understanding on our end. He said, for one thing, he's not obligated to do this at all. He's receiving no compensation, in other words, payment, for it. It is time and energy being expended, I should say, solely for the benefit of the fans of his old run. He says he's doing it to honor our commitment to storylines that were lost to all of us. He reminds us that the rug was pulled out from under his feet as much as ours. He goes on to say that there is a long list of things that take priority over Lost Hedgehog Tales. He says he's glad so many people want to know what he wanted to do with the series, but these are ultimately fan ideas. He says they aren't sponsored by Archie or Sega, and he doubts either company even knows he's doing this. He says the project is entirely on his shoulders, but family comes first. He says the current direction of the books come first. Sonic books, that is. He says running the Bumblecast, finding new work, and launching new projects all come first. He says he must devote himself to the now before he gets to the what might have been. He also adds that he is sincerely sorry for it taking so long, but it will have to wait for more important things to be done first. He says he refused to be bullied or heckled again into rushing out more chapters like he did with chapter 1. He says he's a man of his word and will see this through to the end, eventually. He says until then, he ends it by saying until then, he ends it basically by thanking us for our patience and understanding. Now, what he did add at the end, apparently this was the edit he made, the addendum, if you will, and he actually dates it September 26th. This is the addendum, if you will. This is the update he added. He says, with the update, and I quote, another factor some people aren't aware of or do not take into consideration is the continued litigation surrounding the material Lost Hedgehog Tales would cover. He says, while I take great pains to make it clear I am not a representative of Archie Comics, it would not be hard for someone to use my work to cause confusion. Until all legal concerns are resolved, it is my best interest not to get underfoot and keep this project on the shelf. So yeah, there you go, folks. Basically, what a lot of us, even myself, felt could be the reasoning is indeed the reasoning. Basically, Ian Flynn cannot continue Lost Hedgehog Tales due to the numerous reasons that I mentioned, as well I mentioned when he put that post up back in March, and again I'll provide a link for you guys to read it. But in that updated part, he did mention what a lot of us felt was the reasoning, and that is litigation. The legal. The lawsuits. Ken Penders, Scott Fulop. So yeah, apparently, because he's associated with Archie Comics and as a freelancer, he says he's not a representative, but he's associated with Archie Comics as a freelancer, as the head writer of the Sonic comics. Basically, because of all that, he can't do anything. Basically, what we got with Chapter 1, that's it. So what it sounds like to me, from my own personal but from my own personal opinion, from what it sounds like to me, from my own personal opinion, okay, my own personal opinion, it sounds like that we may have to wait until Ian Flynn is done with the Sonic comics. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me that he's going to probably wait out either the lawsuit to get resolved, whenever that will be, or the lawsuit or whatever's going on, the legal actions and concerns behind the scenes. He's going to wait till those get resolved, and then he might continue it. But he says he does have mostly a lot of personal priorities, family, other projects, the Bumblecast podcast, other projects and work that come first. And that's understandable. That's understandable. I get that. I totally do. But the thing is, Ian Flynn did, admit that he was sorry for getting everybody's hopes up because we all thought it would be done quickly as possible. Here's the thing. Ian, he could share it still. He could still do it. But here's what I would do if I was Ian Flynn, if I was him. I'd find a way to do it in a private way. I try to do it in a way that not many people, but do it in a way that would not be looked at as, oh, this could lead to trouble, that could lead to trouble. Something that basically is under the radar, as they would say. So, to me, I honestly think Ian can do it, but I can kind of see where he doesn't want to take any chances because of the fact that if he ends up doing it, even if he finds a way to balance it out, like, he's doing it, he does all these other projects and works, and he finds like maybe part of the day to be like, oh, okay, I can do this too. Then, that's great. Sorry, my finger at the mic there. But, that's great. That's perfect. If you can find some time part in the day to do it, that's great. But apparently, that's what it sounds like. But apparently, right now, as I mentioned, what we all pretty much felt could be the reasoning is indeed the reasoning. He doesn't want to take any chances with the possibility that it could come back to bite him. Because he is right. And today, because he is right, as much as a lot of us may not want to hear that, he is right. In this time and age, a lot of people will take any opportunity they can get to make money, to make a quick buck. And when you take a look at someone like Scott Fulop or Ken Penders or any other freelance writer or artist that used to work on the book, they could take that advantage. They could take advantage of that and say, hey, let's make some money off it. Hey, this guy's doing this Lost Hedgehog tales. He's mentioning characters that belong to us that would have been in the story. Let's take advantage of that. Let's take advantage of suing him, and thus through him sue Archie Comics because they're letting him do this. And yet he could go. And yet he could go on record. Here's the thing. What Ian Flynn is afraid of is he could go ahead, like I said, and do Lost Hedgehog tales. Like I said, he could find a way to balance things out and still do Lost Hedgehog tales. That's perfect. That's fine. But what he looks at is someone like a Scott Fulop, like a Ken Penders, anybody that used to work for Archie Comics, and mostly on the Sonic comic, whether they were a writer or an artist, could take that opportunity and say, hey, this guy's doing this, and Archie Comics is letting him do it. So let's sue him, and thus through him sue Archie Comics. They could do that. Same with Sega. That's why he doesn't want to continue it right now, because right now it could lead to a situation that goes in that direction. And again, what I think he plans to do, my honest opinion, is he wants to wait until Lost Hedgehog tales, well, not Lost Hedgehog tales, but he wants to wait until either he's no longer the head writer, like maybe somebody else takes over for him, and maybe he focuses more on other projects, and maybe he kind of comes in once in a while to write, or he finally just steps away from the Sonic comic and works on these other projects, like with IDW, some personal projects he wants to do, whatever, write for movies, shows. I'm sure that in my opinion, that once that happens, because I think that might be what he's waiting for, that might be one of the things he waits for, that's when you'll see Lost Hedgehog tales come around. Will we see it sooner? Maybe if the legal issues kind of calm down? Absolutely. But I think in Ian's mind, my honest opinion, is he's going to wait either until those calm down, till the legal issues are settled, or he's going to probably wait until he decides to step away from the Sonic comic, hand it over to somebody else, and then go off to do these other projects. And then after he's gone for like maybe a couple months or something, that's when you'll start seeing Lost Hedgehog tales pop up. And if you want my honest opinion, folks, I think he has finished Lost Hedgehog tales. I really do. My opinion, he may disagree, you may disagree, but I think he has finished it, but he's not bringing them out just yet because of the legal issues. So that's all I'm going to say on this. Basically, title of the audio video says it best. Ian Flynn has updated us on Lost Hedgehog